Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Nicole if you're new. I love home cooking. I do a lot of it on my channel. If you're interested in subscribing, today for Sunday dinner, I'm gonna be making something I've been craving because it has been cold and windy here in Vegas. I'm gonna be making my homemade chili. Now, I'm gonna be doing a high protein version as I have been doing in my recent Sunday dinner videos. Feel free to go back and watch some of those if you'd like. But I am really excited about this one because I love chili. I've been making it for years. And alongside, I'm also going to be doing my homemade cottage cheese cornbread. But I have made that on my channel before, but today I'm gonna do a different variation and we're gonna make jalapeno cheddar cornbread. So super excited about that. Plus we're gonna be throwing in our dessert later. So before we work on that, I'm gonna start off with my meat and my veggies. Now for my ground beef that I'll be using in my chili, one reason why it's going to be super high protein is the type of ground beef that I'm using, which is extra lean ground beef that is 96% lean, much less of the fat, higher protein in the nutrition. And first, before we start getting ready on our meat cooking on the stove, I want to go ahead and start chopping up my vegetables. So I like to squeeze in a lot of extra vegetables and nutrients in my chilies. You obviously don't have to do that, but this is a way that because I love when vegetables are cooked long and slow. This is just a way to get added nutrients into your meal. So I have here a zucchini, a couple of bell peppers, and we're gonna go ahead and get chopping. Okay, so I have cut up all of my veg, and there's a good amount in here, but I ended up doing 1 zucchini, 1 green pepper, 1 red bell pepper, 3 carrots, and I'm gonna get that sauteing on my stove right now in just a little bit of avocado oil. And then also ahead of time, since we were chopping, I went ahead and diced up some onions and some jalapeno, and then next we'll get started on our chili seasoning. All right, now while we have our vegetables sauteing on the stove, let's get started on our spice mix. So I'm just gonna do 1 tablespoon of chili powder in my bowl here. I'm also doing 1 tablespoon of some garlic powder. I got 1 tablespoon of onion powder. I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of oregano leaves. Should probably use ground oregano, but this is what I have on hand. And I'm also gonna add 1 tablespoon of paprika and 1 tablespoon of some ground cumin. You could definitely buy your own chili seasoning, but I already have on hand all of the spices to make it myself. 1 tablespoon of black pepper. And then kind of a surprise ingredient I've seen someone else use on their high protein chili. It doesn't add protein, but I'm gonna use 1 teaspoon of cocoa powder. And I've never done that before, but he said to just trust him, so I wanna see if it makes a difference. And then I'll just take this and give it a little bit of a mix and set this aside until we're ready to add in our meat on the stove. All right, so our vegetables have been sauteing for about 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna scoot them to the side for the outer edges and then give 1 more spray with my avocado oil and add in my ground beef. And I'm gonna go ahead and start breaking this up. I'm at about a medium heat right now. I'm gonna break it up a bit and start adding in that seasoning mix that we just made. I'll add in about half right now. And we'll let this keep working until our meat gets nice and browned. Okay, so our meat is pretty much browned and our vegetables are much softer. So now we're gonna add in, this is 1 28-ounce can of some crushed tomatoes. The original recipe also uses a can of tomato sauce, but this one has tomato paste in it. So I'm just gonna use this as is. Next, I'm gonna add in beans, but I'm only gonna add in 1 15.5-ounce can of these chili beans. These have no salt added. I really like beans in my chili, but my husband is not really a fan of beans, so I'm only gonna add in 1 can. And I'll give that a little stir. You can see how thick it is right now before we add in our broth. Now I'm gonna add in some beef bone broth, and this is going to help to also add more protein with fewer calories when you use bone broth instead of regular broth. So I have 32 ounces here that I'm going to pour in. I'm actually gonna pour a little bit into my crushed tomato can so that we can make sure we get all of that tomato outside of this can. And my pot's actually getting pretty full. We're gonna short it by just maybe a third of this jar. And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add in more of my seasoning, a couple more teaspoonfuls. And I want it to be a little on the liquidy side right now because I'm going to turn up the heat and get it to a bit of a boil, and then turn it down to simmer it for a good 45 minutes. So we'll lose some of the liquid and it'll get nice and thickened. So right now I'm gonna cover it and come check back in 45 minutes. All right, so let's get started on our cottage cheese cornbread. I already have in my bowl equal parts 120 grams of some all-purpose flour and 120 grams of some yellow cornmeal. And for the rest of my dry ingredients, I'm gonna do 1/8 teaspoon of salt, which is really just a pinch. And I'm gonna add 5 grams of baking powder. And I added 3 grams of baking soda. And I'll stir up my dry ingredients really quickly. Move on to my wet. I'm gonna do 120 milliliters of some milk. So in the regular recipe, they use, I think, regular milk, but since I wanna make mine a little higher protein, I'm using a higher protein, lower calorie milk. Same thing with my cottage cheese. I'm using a low fat cottage cheese, so it's lower calorie, higher protein. I'm gonna add in 113 grams. This is whipped cottage cheese, so I just took like a handheld blender straight into the container to whip out all of the curds. And I have 1 whole egg I'm gonna add in. I'm also gonna add in 60 milliliters of avocado oil. The recipe also calls for 60 grams of maple syrup, but I'm actually gonna do 60 grams of my sugar-free pancake syrup because I don't need this to be super sweet. It just adds just a touch of sweetness. And this is the sugar-free syrup I use all the time, so we really like it. I'm gonna add in my wet ingredients straight into my dry and give that a mix. So this is the base of my cottage cheese cornbread. Now I'm gonna add in my jalapeno. I have about 1 whole jalapeno that I de-seeded and de-ribbed. And I'm gonna add that, and I just cut it up into really fine pieces. I'm gonna add that straight into my batter. So it shouldn't be spicy, but it should have good flavor. I also have some cheddar cheese. This is fat-free, so it's lower calorie, but any cheese will really add some good protein. If you don't need lower calorie, just use regular cheese. So I'm gonna add a good handful, maybe about a cup of the shredded cheese, and I'm just gonna mix it in. So I have my 8x8 pan here. I'm just gonna add some parchment paper so I don't have any problems with sticking, hopefully. I'm gonna add my batter in here. I already have my oven preheating to 400 degrees. So we're gonna throw this in for about 20 to 25 minutes. I'll probably check it a little earlier than that. And then I did reserve 1/2 of the jalapeno to just do a few of our slices right on top. And these will be a little hot because they have the seeds and ribs in them, but you can just pick those off. So this is done and ready for the oven. All right, so it has been about 45, well, a little over 45 minutes now. But I'm gonna take a look at our chili. It looks nice and thick. Smells really good. This whole house actually kind of smells like chili now, my whole kitchen. I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a really quick taste to check for seasoning. And I think that I forgot to show on camera that I did add a bunch of chopped up onions in here, as well as a good amount of salt. I think I'm gonna add just a little more salt and maybe let it simmer just a few more minutes, and we are done. All right, I just pulled out my cornbread and I took it out at about 17 minutes and mine was done. It looks super yummy and it smells really good too. I can definitely smell that jalapeno. So I'm just gonna set this aside, let it cool for a bit before we start cutting it up. Okay, now I'm excited to start our dessert. I decided we were gonna do protein brownies, but I am going to use as my base this Duncan Hines Chewy Fudge Brownie Mix, the keto version. Now, I'm not like on a keto diet, but I've never tried this before. And I saw someone online use this mix and then add protein to it and said that it actually tasted good. So I want to give it a try, and I'm going to add in my whole brownie mix in here. Now this keto mix is low carb. It's only 2 grams of net carbs, but it's not necessarily high protein. So that's why we are going to disregard the original add-in ingredients, which is the water, eggs, and butter. And we're going to add in protein. And really hoping that this comes out good because we love brownies. I already made a version of brownies before in one of my other Sunday video dinners, but which actually was not that bad. But when I saw this one using the Duncan Hines, I was like, I need to try that. So for the liquid, I'm gonna add 1 protein shake. This is the Premier Protein, 30 grams of protein in this shake. This is 11 fluid ounces. So I'm gonna add the whole thing in there. The original creator, which I'll link down below, she uses chocolate shake, but I'm not really a fan of chocolate shakes, so I don't have any chocolate on hand. I only have this vanilla, which is what I use to make protein puddings at home. She also uses 2 packages of her protein powder, which I think comes out to about 60 grams. So her original recipe, she does macro-friendly recipes and desserts, and her brownies make 12 servings, each one around 153 calories with 10 grams of protein per brownie. So those are some pretty great numbers. We'll see how it goes. For my protein powder, I've showed you on my videos before, but I use Isopure, and this is just the vanilla flavored kind. She has brownie batter flavored kind, which is probably even better, but I just don't have that on hand. So I'm gonna use what I have. And I'm also gonna add in 1 cup of Greek yogurt. Again, this is going to add more protein and moisture to our brownie. I'm using 0% milk fat Greek yogurt, which is this Faye, which is lower calorie, higher protein. So I'm gonna measure out 1 cup and add that into my brownie batter. And I have my oven preheating right now to 350 degrees. I'm just going by what the baking directions on the box say. 350 degrees, and an 8-inch pan is 24 to 28 minutes. Yogurt, perfect. Add that in. And I already have my cornbread done and out of the oven, cooling slightly. My oven is freed up for use. Sometimes I really wish I had 2 ovens. But I'm gonna add these into my regular 8x8 pan in some parchment paper with some parchment paper. And I have it preheating right now. Just giving my batter a good mix. All right, so our batter looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and pour that down into my parchment. All right, so I'm just gonna smear it out just a bit to get that down. All right, and this is ready for the oven. All right, everyone, that is it for this Sunday dinner. I served up my chili with a little bit of extra protein, so a nice healthy dollop of Greek yogurt, which I use in place of sour cream because to me, it tastes the same, it has the same kind of tang, and it has a lot more protein in it. And then topped it off with just a little bit of shredded cheese and a little bit of parsley. This chili turned out so good, and it always does. And chili is one of those things where it tastes good and it's gonna taste even better the next day because the flavors get even more of a chance to meld together. And on the side, once I got my cornbread out, I cut it up and I served that alongside of my chili with a nice drizzle of some honey. This jalapeno cornbread, definitely recommend it. It came out so good. The cornbread itself is not super sweet. If you like to get it a little on the sweeter side, just having that nice drizzle of honey over it is amazing. The cornbread itself has really good texture, good flavor with the jalapeno and cheese. Wasn't spicy, even my husband ate it. And then for dessert, our protein brownies using the Duncan Hines brownie mix. I myself was actually very disappointed in these brownies. I probably will not try making them again. Similar to the last ones I made, the texture again did not come out as a brownie texture to me. This one leaned even more so on the side of cake, but which is fine. I would still eat it, you know, with a cake texture. It's just the brownie itself to me just did not land on the flavor. So I'm not exactly sure if maybe I did something wrong, but these for me were not a hit. My husband said they were okay, but he's definitely eating them while slathering on a thick layer of chocolate frosting and whipped cream. So still on the search for the best healthy brownie recipe. We'll see where we go in the future. But if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give me a thumbs up because that would really help out my channel. If you want to see more of my home cooking, make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss any of the videos I have coming out soon. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.